welcome to Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast. Look at that smile on your face. That's what we like to see right there. I want to welcome another wonderful interview today, Serenity Sage. We're going to keep it real, unfiltered, unspoken. So I would like to introduce Serenity. Serenity, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's a
It's a pleasure to
pleasure.
be here. So, my name is Serenity Sage, and I am a former foster youth. And I've been in the systems. I'm gonna say been in the system since 12. I may be 41, but I'm still currently in the system. And I have spent my whole life trying to figure out the what and whens and why and how of the foster care system. So I have dwelt. I can say that I have immersed myself in foster care from the time I turned 18, trying out all the programs to getting my master's degree and my very first job being at a residential treatment center. And that's the only job and work I know, going into the court systems, advocating for youth, being part of the justice system, being a social worker, being a crisis management and director of services. And now I'm kind of like on the back end of it, wanting to basically educate the world of all the what's ins and outs of what I have experienced from all different aspects, from the foster care, the foster parent aspect, the county aspect, the court aspect, the kid aspect, because there's so many different things that play a part into the success of a child. So I just want everyone to understand everyone's role and how to better support each other in it so everyone can work as a whole.
That's a beautiful goal. That's a great thing to hear. Now, with your personal life experience, we always kind of like to take it from the beginning there. So it does, from what you were telling us, does seem like you went through, some bit of trials and tribulations and probably trauma of your own. So give us a little bit about, your childhood. When did you enter into the foster care program? What were the circumstances that put you there?
Yes. So I want to start by saying, like, I think people always forget the fact, regardless of any kid that's in a foster care system, the generational trauma that plays a part before they're even existing into the aspect of foster care is something that's actually predominantly in houses that it already has been occurring. It's been prevalent that it's a generational cycle. And until we get into the generational cycles, we're never going to be able to break the cycle because it's a normality that's not normal for most, but it's normal for those children that's in it. I would say that I kind of got lucky in the beginning. The reason why I always tell people I got lucky is that I grew up with my grandfather's side of the family when I could walk and talk. But 3 years old, I was with my grandpa's side of the family. He has 63 grandchildren. I'm the first one born on his birthday. And he has 11 children, and each one has like 6 kids. And every weekend, because our families and our, parents were fast, guess you can say that, want to go to the club and stuff, they'll drop everybody off at grandpa's house on the weekends. So I grew up very immersed with a whole bunch of cousins, a bunch of love. And I didn't realize I was kind of in the hood. I couldn't say I was in the hood because I was happy where I was at. I couldn't say those things because the life that I lived and how I lived it was my normality. It may not have been other people's normality, but it was mine. So I was okay with it. It was heavily stricken with gang violence, shooting and just a lot of stuff that you wouldn't think normal. But at the same time, we was trained for it because that's our neighborhood. It's our area. Don't walk outside. Make sure you're with your cousins and make sure all those different things. So to me, I still was happy because I felt safe in the environment that I was in because that was my regular exposure. And I worry about people when they overgeneralize what could be safe for a child and not if they don't realize that's that child's normal. So we can't really predict what's normal for children or not. So my mom was very pretty and very into herself. And when I say that, it's 1000%. She always was a waitress somewhere, anywhere where her looks will get her, that's where she was. She was more concerned with looks than she was with the actuality of raising a child. I'm not saying she wasn't great because in the beginning, when it was just me and her, she was also studying to become a cop. And things kind of turned left when she got with my sister's dad. He was just not a good person, you know. He looked good, dressed good, but wasn't good. He was kind of perverted, creepy, didn't like him, didn't like being around him. And I went from always being at my grandpa's house, hanging around my cousins and stuff like that, having that family network, to us moving away and being in isolation with just them two, and the things that happened there, and them getting on drugs. His parents were murdered. Well, his mother and grandmother, with a hammer. It was still on unsolved mysteries. And him and my mom broke up. And I remember us moving to San Diego for a change, and it just got worse from there. My mom drug addiction got super worse, where we didn't have any food. I couldn't really feed my sisters. And a girl next door taught me how to steal. Not saying it's great, but she taught me how to go to the grocery store and steal. And we had to like collect a whole bunch of grocery bags and go to the dark corner and then fill the bags up with the stuff that you need and just walk out with the whole basket home. So when my mom found out I was doing that, it's like she'll get more like, why didn't you bring what I wanted? I wanted, like, she's making a list. And it's like making it more stressful instead of it being now a survival tool. I'm getting all this stuff that I'm not supposed, and I'm getting caught when I do things like that. And versus if I'm getting little things for me and my sisters. So I can say that my mother and I, our relationship, hold on real quick. I'm sorry, I have to take this real quick. This is the kids' mom. They're probably on their way. So it became, I say my mother and I relationship is different because I know her from the beginning and I know her from all the way to the end. And when I said in the beginning, she was this lively woman that wanted to become a cop, will make me sit on her feet to do 50 push-ups, sit on her back to do for the sit-ups and the 50 push-ups. Like, she was very ambitious and motivated. Yeah, she was all in her looks and wanted to be a waitress, but she was structured. She has this goal. She has these dreams. She has all these things. And then when she got my sister's dad, the only thing she cared about was him. She didn't care about nothing else but him. And her focus just became different. And I remember we used to do so many different things together, and going grocery shopping. And like when we used to go grocery shopping, we'll come home and she'll make the bags into hula skirts and put them on. We used to dance around in the kitchen and stuff. And when she was with him, she was a different person. When we went to San Diego, it felt like she relied on me, and she would always tell me, like, I'm the big person, I'm older, I need to make sure the kids have what they need. And you got to think, at that time I was only 10 years old, and it's like having someone putting all this responsibility on a kid is not okay. But at the same time, if that's your normal and you don't know anything else, you don't know anything else. And I tell people now, even people that are non-foster, the worst thing you do is give a kid grown people problems. Kids should never have grown people problems, period. That's the worst thing you can do, because they are always in a constant state of fixing something they can't understand because they don't know how to fix, because they're a child, period. They don't have the means, they don't have the know-how to fix a problem because it's not their problem to fix. But when you throw it on them, it creates a lot of anxiety and unsafe, and you never feel safe or comfortable where you are because you're always worried. Anyways, because she's telling me this stuff, my goal was to protect the kids from the stuff that she's telling me. Like, okay, there's no food. Okay, my friend taught me how to get food. I can get food. There's no water. Okay, go next door, get some water. Oh, the kids, don't smell that great. All you gotta do is boil some water and you can just wash the kids. There's no food. I learned how to make potatoes a freaking 50 different million ways. Always learning, in a constant state of learning on how to fix each problem that came. But I couldn't fix the outbursts my mom had. But when she was having those mental outbursts, my goal was to put the kids somewhere and make them watch TV. And then I tried to deal with it, I guess you can say. So I took a lot of beatings and things of the things that she was doing. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't great, but I wanted to keep the kids from it. And I don't know why I always was like that. I think because I didn't grow up like that. So I knew what was going on with us wasn't normal for them. So I didn't want them to see stuff like that. So I just kind of kept it in. And I remember few times, like, you know, she pulled a gun on me one time because of the grocery stuff. I didn't get what she needed and I couldn't get all the stuff. And I remember she putting it to my head and clicking it, and it was empty, but she was laughing the whole time because I was jumping and screaming and freaking out, and was saying, and you thought that I would put a loaded gun to your head. But it's like, how would I know if it's loaded or not when I'm a child? How would I know when you're clicking something that that's not the end of me? Like, how would I know things like this? You know? And I remember, like, even as an adult, her laughing. Remember that time, and her bringing stuff up like that and laughing. And those things are not laughable to me because they happened to me. And it's like, I don't know why I'm not more screwed up than I am, but it's still like all those things that happened, it still was like, whoa, like those are crazy things that were happening. And so I remember her getting back with my sister's dad, and we went in to go move into the house where his parents were murdered, because he ended up getting the house and having to go live in the house where the parents were murdered. And they got on drugs so bad that our house became a trap house. They sold everything in there. There was nothing in there. They're writing bad checks for food and stuff. And I used to have to go with him and get the food and meet at these weird abandoned houses and run with the food. Thank God they don't do checks and stuff anymore. And it's just, everything was my fault. I remember my mom used to give me the paychecks. Like, she'll get paid at the beginning of the month, and she'll say, like, this is all the money that I have. If you don't take care of this money, we're not going to have a place to stay. We're not going to have any food. We're not going to have any of that. I need you to hide it from me. If you love me, you will hide it from me. Please go and hide it, because that's your responsibility. Then I'll go and hide it, knowing that what she's saying is true. But then not even a couple of days later, she is like, literally, like, if she has that money back, I'm in a bad position, if that makes sense. Like, beaten, because she beats the crap out of me, and I couldn't take all the beatings all the time. Sometimes I would beat myself because I would freak out, because she would go so far that I'm like, I might as well do it for you so you don't have to do it. And she'll think it's funny and laugh at me and say that I need to be in a crazy house, but it's just a lot of stress. Like, and then she'll spend all the money, and then she's crying, and then she's coming to me for comfort and laying on me, crying and saying, what are we going to do? And I have to comfort her. That's a lot of different emotions.
Yeah, so I want to, yeah, it's a whole lot of emotions. So I want to go back just a little bit. So your mom pretty much got on drugs, and you were accountable for taking care of your siblings. And then in the process of trying to do right with the siblings, you would be physically abused from your stepfather and her drug addiction.
Yeah. Him, it was more of sexual abuse. Her, it was just physical and mental and emotional abuse. It was just a cluster of emotions.
So in the process, he was sexually abusing you?
Well, that didn't start until we moved to the house where the parents died.
So he would do drugs and then sexually abuse you, or he was just sexually abusing you, period?
Like, he would, in the beginning, it started off, I didn't know that was sexual abuse when it was the beginning. I just didn't like being by myself with him. When I say pervert, he'll buy me game boards and stuff and want me to play games with him. And I still hate the game Life to this day. And my mom would be at work, and he'll be naked, and he'll be rubbing himself down there while we're playing games, and I didn't want to play, and he'll thump me on the forehead. He had like these long nails, and would like play the damn game right, and then like the stuff will come out and then tell me, do I want to take, and I know what, and I'll be scared and stuff and be like scary ass. And it's like, that happened, but I wasn't touched. I just didn't want to play games with him. I didn't like it, you know? So that could have been part of grooming, you know? Of course, as a therapist now, yeah, that's part of grooming, doing little different things you can get away with, you know? So he's just a sick person. I don't like him. So it's just trying to process and have a relationship and protect, and then wanting to be where your grandpa is. Where's your grandpa? Where's your uncle? Where's all these people you grew up with? Now you're removed from them. You know, you don't know, you feel alone, you feel by yourself. And it's just, it was hard. I would say that. And I remember that, because like I try to have an open heart and try to forgive my mom, because like I said, it's generational stuff. You can't blame someone that don't know no better. right? So forgiveness goes deeper than forgiveness. It goes better to understand why people are the way they are versus just pointing fingers, right? Because if I don't understand what causes you to be this way, it can happen to me and potentially my children. So I got to understand what's going on here because I don't want a part of it and I want it to stop with me. So I remember that she would want me to go babysit the kids next door, and that guy was very creepy. And he would try to do stuff with me and be like, "Well, I pay for your service, like pay for my service, like what services? Like, how can a kid be babysitting other little kids that I'm only like 3 years older than them? Like, I shouldn't be here, you know?" And I remember the guys. She'll leave us, like she'll go into the room and would like not come out, and it'll be all those drug dealers in the house because they sold everything and they want drugs. And how unsafe is that when you have nothing but girls, little girls in the house, and a house full of men that are freaking perverts and little boys? They don't give a fuck about this house. You know, it's a trap house. So now keeping the kids in the room, don't come out the room, and them crying because I won't let them out the room. I don't want them playing out in the yard. I don't want them, because I don't know what's going on. And the only thing I can keep you safe is in this small area, whether there's a TV, electricity or not. This is the only area that I can keep safe. And then my mom making me leave to go do errands, and I don't want to leave because I don't want to leave the kids, you know. So constant state of just stress. And I remember that I used to sleep outside by the living room because we had a 2-bedroom house, so I can hear if someone's going towards the kids' room. And sometimes when I was asleep, there's only 2 of them, but they would touch me at night, like trying to like make it go further. And I would keep my eyes closed and kind of act like it's not happening because I'm scared that if I open up my eyes, something more might happen. So I used to have to go through that. And I remember that one time I came home and the kids were in the room, and then there was a dude in the room with them, but he was sleeping on the bottom bunk and the kids were on top. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he was like, "Oh, I rent this room for the night and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Well, you need to leave." And he was like, "I'm not, because I rent this room." And so we were like back and forth arguing. So then I slept on the floor because I was scared something was going to happen to kids. And I remember him asking me, like, "Does this happen a lot? Like, do your parents?" And I wasn't talking to him. And he kept saying, like, that there's rumors that there's a girl over here in the hood that you could do whatever you want to her. She won't wake up and blah, 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 blah. And he said, "Is that you?" And I remember him asking me this stuff, and I wouldn't say anything. And then he was like, "If you talk to me, like, I can help you." And I'm just like, I don't believe this person. I don't think this person's going to do anything. It's just somebody else that whatever my mom promised them, thinking something's going to happen, nothing's going to happen. But I remember him telling me that, you know, like, I'm here, like, I've been hearing about you for a minute and I came here and I'm just trying to help, but, you know, I don't know what to do if you're not talking. And I'm just thinking, like, this person is just whatever. So I remember that morning he was asking me, like, "Well, how's school? Do you go to school?" "Well, I don't go to school. I can't go to school because someone has to watch the kids." And I remember he was like, "Well, if you don't go to school, how do you think this situation is going to get better for you? Like, you know, school is the only thing that helps kids in the hood. Like, if you don't take school seriously, this is going to be your reality." Like, and I'm just like, I don't know who this guy is, whatever. So then I remember that day he came back, and I remember those people weren't there. And he said that he rented the house for the day that he was selling drugs out of the house, that he was going to start selling drugs out of the house. And then he told me that I had to start going to school. And I didn't know he was telling, like, the sisters was going to be okay. And he went, he got groceries. And I thought that he was still lying, and he wasn't. And I just tell people, I don't think it's right what he did, but he ended up selling the drugs out the house, but nobody came in the house anymore. And he started making me go to school, and he'll walk me to school in the morning and give me $5 and stuff. And I can say that I don't know if things would have got worse or better if he wasn't there. I think it got better, kind of, because it was there. And I remember I got kicked out the house because they had beans at this barbecue at this place my mom used to work at. And they gave me a bunch of food, and I ate the last of it. And he kicked me out. My mom, the boyfriend, kicked me out. So I went and stayed with my grandpa. And that's when I met my biological dad. And I went and I stayed with him. I never met him before, and things weren't good there. And then my mom called me, told me she was going to a homeless shelter, and she said she needed me to come with her because she wanted to get sober. And so I went with her to the homeless shelter, and that was the first time she tried to get sober. And I was like 11, and she was doing good at the homeless shelter. Then we got an apartment, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and she just never came back. And I was scared because there was no food. We were eating like raw noodles. And I remember him coming knocking on the door, and he was saying that he's been looking for me, and that my mom told him that we were over here. And I was telling him that we haven't seen her in days, and he got her and made her come back. And but he had to give her drugs to make her come back. But she came back, and then she'll do that. She'll just disappear, and he'll have to go and find her. And finally, we got kicked out of that place, and instead of us staying, we just went to Oklahoma to go be with her bio mom. And I never met her bio mom before, but her bio mom had a stroke or whatever, so she wasn't talking when we met her. And that was when we went to Oklahoma to go stay with her. And things were good with my grandma. We started going back to like school, and she started talking again, and we got close. And I used to like, she's teaching me like how to cook and all these other different things. And we had a really good relationship. And then my mom ended up getting an apartment, and she was working at like Taco Bell. And then we moved to those apartments, and it was like some Section 8 apartments, and she got back on that stuff. And she just, that time she didn't come back. The beatings got worse. You know, I don't know how far, I always thought I was going to die because she always did the extreme with me. She gave me $20 for my birthday, and I didn't spend the $20 because I didn't know if we were going to have food. And so I kept it and I hid it. And then like a couple of days later, she was like, "Where's your money for your birthday?" And I was just like, "I spent it." And she's like, "Well, what are you spending on?" And I said, "I spent it on food and stuff at school." And she's like, "Well, I need it." And she's like, "Where's the $20? I don't have the $20. And she's like, "I know you're lying." So she was like, "So I'm going to have to cut it out of you." And so she beat me first. And then she got a knife and started cutting my clothes off. And then she had a bra, and she was pointing a knife, and it was poking my chest every time she cut it. And then she kicked me outside on the back patio, and I was naked. And I remember having to run between the houses, and I went to a lady named Tracy's house, and her boyfriend opened the door, Anthony, and he let me stay there. And I remember a couple of days later, I walked to the store with the $20 because I still had it. And I bought the kids food, and I came home to put it on the back door, and I left. And a couple of days, I guess the school called her, and she told me I had to come home because if I didn't come home, the school was going to take the kids, and it's going to be my fault. So I came, and then we got evicted off of $35. Our rent was only $10 a month, but we was 3 months behind. And so we went to a homeless shelter there, and she got kicked out of the homeless shelter. So we went to a battered women's shelter, and we were there, and she was supposed to be going to look for a job, but she never came back. She just left us there. And the people tried to keep us there for a couple of days, but my sister ended up getting like 104 temperature. So they said we had to go because they couldn't give her medicine because we were minors. And so the cop that came and picked us up told me that he knew my uncle, and if my uncle's home, he was going to take us to my uncle's house. So we went there, and we waited, and he wasn't there. We were there for a couple of hours, and we couldn't get in contact with him, so they had to take us to the shelter. And we went to the foster place, and the kids were like clinging to me. But I remember as soon as we got there, my sister's temperature dropped, and they separated us, and that was all I had. And I had a breakdown, and they put me in this padded room, and they weren't nice. It was just really bad. And I remember that they were telling me that we have family in San Diego. And I remember that family in San Diego, but they didn't help us when we were in San Diego. They helped my mom get an apartment, but it was in the hood with all the drugs. They had money, but they didn't like let us stay with them. So what are you telling me about these people for? You know? And that lady called me and told me that like she was a social worker, and she was my aunt, and they raised my mom when they were younger. And they're telling me that if I love my sisters, because she couldn't have kids and they're little, that I would help her get the kids, that she couldn't take me because I was older and I had issues, and that, but she could save my sisters. And so I need to help her get the kids. And so I did whatever she needed so the kids could get out of the system. And my mom, she came like a week later, and they were going to give us back to her because they said she had a place to go. And I told them I didn't want to because I wanted my sisters to be safe. And they said the only way that we couldn't go is if I testify in court against my mom about all the stuff that happened. And so I did, so the kids could go to San Diego and be with my aunts and have a different life. And I never forget myself for that because my mom got even worse. And she blamed me and she would write me, tell me all these things. And I don't know, because in the end, Oklahoma wouldn't give my aunt the kids unless we all went because they said they don't separate kids. So she was forced to take me anyway. And they separated me from my sisters, even though we were in a family placement. They wouldn't let me see them. And I kept getting moved around. And I kept getting reminded all the stuff my mom and grandma did. And I didn't even know these things and blamed for stuff. And it wasn't better there. And I remember telling the social worker that I didn't feel safe there. They really hated me and I wanted to go. And I remember her saying, like, look how good your sisters are thriving. They're doing so well. And you got, 3 of them. If you keep complaining, they're going to take all you guys because they don't separate. You're still part of Oklahoma, even though you're in California. And she said, if you complain, we'll take all you guys and you guys will be separated because you guys all don't have the same last name. And so having that pressure, still being in a different environment and not being taken care of, it's a lot of stress. And I I sucked everything up. And every time I saw my sisters, I figured the only way this stuff is going to stop is going to have to stop with me. And I sucked it up, even though they treated me like shit, never did anything for me. When I got the chance to see my sister, I made sure I put the biggest smile on my face. I was as positive as I can be, asking them about school, asking them about all those different things. I try to make things as less awkward as possible so they can just thrive, because I didn't want them to end up like me because they were thriving and at least they were nice to them. And I just wanted them to be successful. I wanted them to be successful. They needed to be successful because all this shit couldn't be for nothing. It could not be for nothing. So I had to put the fucking face on. I had to do what I needed to do. I had to kiss ass just to be able to see them, to make sure that they were okay. And then I decided that Art was right because he used to write me all the time and tell me about school. And I used to complain to him what they were doing after, because he was in jail. And he'll always find me and I'll tell him, and he was like, well, what about school? Like, you always telling me about all this bad stuff. I can care less what they're doing to you. What are you doing for yourself? Are you going to school? Are you taking school seriously? And I started taking school seriously because that was the only way that I was going to get somewhere. And I didn't have good enough grades to go to like a 4-year, but I got out the system. I basically graduated on the June 23rd, and then I moved straight back to Bakersfield where my grandpa them were. Back to because I didn't want to stay there. Like I couldn't stay there because I wasn't wanted there. So, and I went and I got in school. I went and took advantage of the foster care services. I tried to stay with my grandpa them, and I'm gonna say the only difference that I noticed is staying in San Diego. You got to think I went from the hood to like these rich people that were very belittling. It's only 5 of them. It's like 50, 80 people at my grandpa's house. People stick together. Like they don't treat people like there. If there's nothing there, there's love. There's love there. You know you're loved. Like you know you're cared for. You know you love for. You know that one person touch you, everybody in it. It is like you know these things. You go someplace with 5 people that got money that hate each other and bicker and pick and belittle. You're trying to figure out where is all this coming from? Like why you guys don't like why do you think it's okay to treat people? It's only 5 of you guys. And then it's like you see this pretty house and you say everything is okay because this house is pretty. These things are nice, but this house is fucked up and devil in the inside. Just because the shit look nice doesn't mean it's nice. People need to get their fucking reality checked. Because my grandpa's house may not look nice, but it was a hell of a lot better. It made me, I don't think I would have been able to do for my sisters or be the person I am now if these things are not normal. You know how to react. Here, you're not reacting to anything. You're being belittled and making you feel bad about yourself. But at the same time, when I went to my grandma's house, I'm like, this shit is ghetto. Coming from where I was, I'm like, I don't want to live like this. I want something better. But what I had known, I wanted something better if I wasn't exposed to something better. So I can't say think everything happens for a reason. So I didn't disconnect from my grandpa and them. That's like he was still doing drugs. You over here on food stamps. You over here worrying about SSI. Those are not things I'm worried about. I'm worried about like I'm gonna get it. How I'm gonna get this car? How I'm gonna get my own apartment? How I'm gonna get y'all? Y'all still over here trapping. I don't want to be a part of it. Like I'm done. Like out. I went and did my own thing, you know. And so I had to separate from a whole nother family that was my normal because that's not what I wanted to be my normal. And I knew I was gonna get support from the family that I just came from. So I just did the best that I could. And God, when I say God bless me, God has blessed me. I don't have people say like you have daddy issues, mommy. I thank God I don't have daddy issues. I had a good ass grandpa. I had a good ass uncle, and even my dad, even though we didn't meet till I was 11, he was even good. And so I'm just letting you know everything. The guy that gave me an apartment, he gave me an apartment and let me stay there as long as I was going to school. I didn't have to pay rent for 3 years. And it was an apartment in the hood. When people in the hood found out I was going to school, everyone was helping me. I had someone fixing my car. I had groceries. I had all the things I had. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm so glad that things were, able to take a turn in the capacity that they could, or, people are at least trying to meet you where you were at. I
sorry,
do
I
miss
started.
that. Yeah, it's okay. No, I
That's
miss that
okay.
part of
Okay.
that part of the hood, because above all else, whatever people try to say, about inner city neighborhoods, the kids they do see with potential, and that's not about to be, out here doing that same mess. They do try to breathe life in them and make sure that they're good on these streets, and we're not seeing too much about that way anymore. So I'm glad that
I
they were
stayed there
able
for
to.
8 years. I stayed there
Yeah.
for 8 years because people would be like, wait, you live on Clifton again? Where they would shoot? Girl, you crazy? You said, oh, I would, and the ghetto people tell me that I wouldn't live there. You ain't going to school. You ain't doing nothing. You tell me what you want to live. I be my trash taken care of, my yard. Like I come home, I be like, what's going on? Everything gone, everything taken care of. Like before I even, everyone was so excited that I was going to school that I'm saying when I said they took care, they literally took care of me. I didn't have to worry about nothing. So why wouldn't I not stay there for 8 years? And I'm like, yeah, it was worse when we were kids, but half of those people are either dead in jail. This is the older generation that's left behind. Like they ain't doing that. You know, you get some little knuckleheads here and there, but the it's not the same for me as it is for you. And then I hate when I have friends that tell me like I'm ghetto, or my family that don't mess with me kind of hood because they said that I think I'm bougie and I act white. And I'm looking like, I'm the one that was in the hood for 8 years after foster care. None of y'all was there. I was like, because I'm educated, because I don't talk or act like you, because I want to get somewhere and I want to be able to not act the fucking fool and be invited into the damn door. Like, I'm white. Well, then fuck it, I'll take it. I ain't you,
It is what
like,
it is. It is
I
what
don't
it is. So
understand.
what was that defining moment kind of for you that sent you into a new direction after the whole foster care bid? What was that next milestone for you, and where things are moving in a positive direction?
When I got back to Bakersfield, because I like I said, I had to leave the hood because it's like they wouldn't pay for it. It's like it was little stuff. It just didn't make sense because they kept switching me to house to house. At my aunt's house, I never had stability. But every time I went to the one person house, it's like, oh, you need to clean. You need to this. You need to that. Oh, you need to cook. And I do know how to cook, and I'm not going to lie. Everyone loves my cooking. I'm really good at those things. But so it's like I felt like I was always paying my way every time I walked in somebody's house. Like I need to do all this stuff. But I'll suck it up because I wanted to see my sisters. Then I feel bad. I'll see them, my family, because they don't know how to do hair. It's like the last hairstyle I left them with when 3 months ago with the pigtails is still in there, but now it's all natted and nasty. So now I'm sitting here doing the kids' hair and I'm learning how to do individuals on all these different things because I can't have them looking like it hurts me to see them looking, like that. So it's like the defining moment was just, I'll be damned if somebody tell me what I am and what the fuck I'm not. I don't care what age. I don't care. God done brought me this far. I'd be damned if I allow you to tear me all the way down and tell me I can't be something what I cannot be. You don't have the right to do that. No one has the right to do that. Only you yourself have the right to do that. So it's either I'm going to piss or, and I'm going to keep sitting on this pot of shit, or I'm going to flush that shit and do what the fuck I need to do. So if I need to go to school, you need to tell me, lead the way, or I make my own way. I am not a follower, 1000%. Ain't never been a follower. That's one thing I'm glad about in the hood. I learned not to be a follower. I'm glad I told my brothers them because they still in that. Look, I'm glad we lived like this. So I'm glad I got all the bullshit from the beginning so I wouldn't fall for it in the end. I wish the fuck you
Mm,
would. I
mm.
could
I
be
have a question.
yes.
I have a question.
Yes. Sorry.
No, you're fine. And these are the emotions, and this is what we want our audience to see is how our childhood traumas affect us into our adulthood. And I see a lot of emotion coming out of you, which means that it's still hurting you. At what?
No, but
No,
yes. No, no, it's a
no.
different,
Some
it's a different.
pain. It's an emotional piece of it. But when we express it, this is what I say to myself when the expression comes out. It's pieces that still hurts us. It's pieces that still
My
bother us.
mom.
It's that love, like your mom, like we don't know what to do, but it's an emotion that sits there that we think we have it all, and I still go through this, but it still hurts us. That emotion, when we talk about it, it still comes out of us. I want to know, what is your mom,
Died in March, so it's still bad.
is March, so
She died.
there are there.
Yeah, so she no, so she suffered, and it hurt me. It hurt me. I don't.
There we go.
At this when I say I I take a lot of shit. And when I say take a lot of shit, I take more shit than what people normally realize. And I don't give a lot, if that makes sense. I could talk about 100 million pencils for 2 years straight, and that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean I give you one set of my soul. You don't know shit about me. You can know what I give you and what I provide because that's what you need for you to be able
Mm-hmm.
to carry this part of our relationship further. Doesn't mean that
Mm-hmm.
is what I need to carry our part of our relationship further. I'm pretty much a loner. Don't deal with anything. My whole life is delved into kids. The kids that just left my house, those are special need kids that I work for in the military, and the family refused to let me go. So the kids get dropped off every other weekend for the whole weekend, and I just got the kids. So they have special needs, and I love them. I had them for 4 years. But when I say hurt, is more different. Like I needed my sisters to be successful, so I felt like I had to lead by example. And so because of that, I never took shit from them when it came to school or any of those things. So I have a sister that graduated at the top of her class at John Hopkins, and she has 4 degrees, and she's also second lieutenant in the army. And that's my baby. She just got married in Cancun last year, and she's recently pregnant in November. I haven't spoke to them, none of them, since October of last year, and I refuse to. I'm never going to speak to them again. But there's a different reason between that. But then I have my other sister, the one that is underneath me. She's went to go and be a social worker. She's a shitty social worker, but she is a social worker, and she's a social worker supervisor. She has a very I know everything and it's my way. And she's one of those social workers that do everything by the book and doesn't go outside the box. Those are the scariest ones because you're doing good and you're going to keep getting promoted, but you're separating kids. You don't have no care. It's just things that shouldn't happen. You just allow because it's by the book when you could actually fight those things to make sure it don't happen. Like girl, when I was social worker, I went to the jailhouse and I had a piece of crayon and a paper. Give me that paper napkin. Write your rights here because I found out where your kid is and they doing good and I don't want them back with you, but I need you to write this on this crayon. And you take it to the judge and they're like, as long as you found him, that's all we good. You got the consent, we good. But it's like, if you're not going out the way, you don't know that you can do those things. You got it, so it's like seeing her, it scares me, but still I'm kind of removed from her. She wanted her own life. She from everyone. So she has a husband and they have a nice house and they have 2 beautiful kids. She's disconnected from us, but guess what? She's thriving. They're bougie and they don't know shit and they make a lot of assumptions. But I'm so happy they're not from where we came from. All the sacrifice was done for a reason. So to see you in that season, that makes me good because that lets me know I did my job. Regardless of what we got going on, I did my motherfucking job and I did it well. Don't even have to see. I don't have to see you or talk to you to know you're doing good. It makes me feel good. And I feel like I accomplished something. All that sacrifice wasn't done and nothing, but they think I'm fake and phony because I don't talk about the past. And I told them that who am I to give you seeds that you can't flourish? You don't need to water a garden that's not yours. You are okay with your baseline of what you know is okay. So why do you have to have more in order for you to flourish? I don't understand. So they think I'm fake and phony and I'm bossy. And And if that's your interpretation of me and you're still thriving, I'd rather leave now so we can still have some type of peace rather than continue and allow you guys to emotionally say all these things and me keep sucking it up. And that's one thing that I started going therapy for. Like, they say things and I never really address it because I don't want to get into that conversation with them. And I just keep taking it and taking it. And I didn't know how much it was affecting me until a couple of years ago, that it's just like, now I don't feel liked by you guys and you're the only family I had. And that's what all this was for, you know? So I'm like, how do I try to open up to them? Maybe if I gave them a little bit, they will be better to me, if they understand, because you got to think, I left them with my aunts and that's their family to them. And they don't really want to deal with me because they don't want bad blood with my aunts. And that hurts too,
So that piece still hurts you
but
now,
I
and you're
suck it
so
up.
deep into
What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
hurts because like I didn't do nothing. Like, huh?
Yeah. No, I was telling Sid to go ahead. She has another question for you.
Um. Well, with that being said, you can't really make too much of that, and everybody's where they need to be respectfully. But where did you come out? What type of credentials were you able to obtain? In this meantime, what kind of degrees you got under your belt? Let us know what accomplishments you
So
made despite everything.
I'm not saying I don't have issues, because I can't be in a relationship because I'm not saying that I can't. It's just people always judging me. And so that's why I don't like it, because I was in a relationship with a nice guy, but he told me he thinks that I have multiple. He said, because then you be on the phone with your boss them and work and you're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then you on the phone with your church sisters and you talking about God and y'all talking about this little retreat y'all going on. And then you on the phone with your cousin. Like, bitch, really? What the fuck? And it's like, you go from ghetto, but like, I don't know, do you know who you are? Now I'm like, but if we in a relationship, you saw all of me, so what the fuck is the problem? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's cool, but it's like every person has a different aspect and a different part in my life, but that doesn't mean that's not all of me and who I am. So I'm like, I'm tired of explaining myself to people, so
Hey, Serenity, real quick. Sid was asking what credentials, right?
so
Sid,
now what?
yeah.
So I went to school. And so because of that, it's like I always struggled. That's what I'm trying to say. I always struggled because everyone's wanting this different part. I went to school and I got my bachelor's degree in human services. And I got it in human services because I wanted to understand basically people and how the things work, like in social work. So doing that healed me, and healed me more than not, because that's when we went and broke down. And then after I built a relationship with one of my teachers that went over generational trauma and how it plays a part and how it reproduces itself. And we went and did all those different things. And so she put me in a few groups and stuff, and I was able to understand those things. And then that kind of like healed me a little bit better, because then I forgave my mom a little bit more. And not only that, I went looking for her, not trying to fix her, but more of trying to make sure she didn't feel alone, because she was a foster kid. So I didn't want her feeling some way that I'm trying to prevent other kids from feeling. So I try to just cut all the other stuff and just build a relationship with her. Then after that, I became supervisor of a group home, and I ended up moving back to San Diego after my bachelor's degree because my sisters were in their high school years, and I wanted to make sure I got them across the finish line. And I also wanted to make sure that they were aware of all the foster care services that they had while they were in school, so they can be able to maximize their potential, because they were really smart kids. So I went back to San Diego for that, and that's when I started working for the county. And while I was working for the county, I went back for my master's degree in marriage family therapy because I thought I wanted to be a therapist. And I went to therapy. I went to school to become a therapist. And once I finished school, I realized I hate therapy, because I was therapy, like, interning for marriage couples. It's like, I don't have time for this. I don't care that you cheating. You know why you cheating. You grown. Like, I ain't got time for these problems. So I thought I didn't want to be a therapist. So I stopped that, and I went and became a social worker for removals for kids. And I never had to remove a kid. I always found people baselines. And during that, I started noticing I did like therapy, but it was therapy with kids. I like working with kids and people that don't know what's going on, like teaching people, educating people, and providing that reality aspect of therapy. Like, what can we do now to get you to where you need to go right now? Like, what are the things? What's going on in your life that's causing you to stop? So I started realizing, okay, so I'm a solution focused based therapist, but I really didn't realize that until I got into, the social work field, that I'm like, okay, so I do like therapy. It's just that I went to the wrong field at first. And I started a few businesses. I always loved cleaning. My mom loved cleaning. I'm a cleanaholic. And so I started a few businesses doing that. So I have a transportation business. It's not until I was in, I would say 33, because I'm 41 now, I found a foster parent for myself. I'm always been telling people, always tell me they're going to adopt me and do all these things for me. And I was a mentor for this one lady's kids at church for Young Life, because I'm a Young Life leader. And she was so impressed with me in the way I was handling her foster kid that she told me that she wanted to adopt me. And I'm like 33 years old. And I told her, she's like, you don't think that's weird that a white woman is telling a black woman that she wants to adopt him at 33? Like, you can adopt me. Like, there's nothing you can do for me. So she kept pursuing me, and she's super aggressive. And she threw me a surprise birthday party, and I never had a birthday party before. And all like my little accomplishments, she was like tracking them, calling me like, let's go eat, let's go do these things. And I'm just like, this lady's super aggressive. Like, she's pursuing me. And that's the first time I started opening up, because I never saw someone that persistent. And when I moved here to Vegas, I was like, I'm moving here. I'm going to, buy me a house here. And she was like, yeah, you're going to be removed from your family, blah, blah, blah. And she sent me, like, she gave me a big, nice money gift on my way here. And then when I got here, I did find a house, and we started bidding wars. It was hard for me to get the house, and I thought I was going to lose, and I got super depressed about it. Then they called me and told me that my mom gave the donation of $10,000. And I'm like, my mom? I don't have a mom. No, they put her name, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she did that. And I was like, oh yeah, that's my mama. And so what I don't like is that she's very intrusive. And it's like, we're going on a trip to such and such for Christmas, and I'm not asking you, you're going to be there, and blah, 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 blah. And she's super bossy and controlling with me. And I want to see your bank account. We need to go over your finances, blah, 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 blah. Then I quit my job just last a couple of years. Well, it's been since last year, and I quit my job because I didn't believe in the mission. I was making a lot of money. That's when she made me go to therapy twice a week. I told her that, I was making a lot of money. She was telling me remove. I didn't like the mission, how they were treating people, and it was making me feel bad at night that they were trying to make me make these decisions. So I started fighting my boss, telling him no. So he had to keep flying people from Vegas to Reno to fix the problem, because I refused to do it because I didn't want it on my conscience. And then I told him I just don't think it's right for him or me to be able to work together if I don't believe the mission that he's trying to develop, because it's not my mission, it's his, and it's not healthy. And so she told me I need to go to therapy because I need to learn that I can't save everyone, and that when you're making $115,000 a year, you don't just quit your job, you're blah, 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 blah. You got some shit you need to get healed, and I'm going to pay for you to go to therapy. So she's making me go to therapy twice a week in order for me. So she didn't want me working at all. She wanted me to go to therapy. So she was giving me money monthly. In order for me to keep the money monthly and go to therapy, I had to go to therapy twice a week. So I did it, and then at that time, my mom got super sick, my real mom. And she got super sick in October, and I told her that I wanted to go and stay with my mom because she needs help. And she told me, like, if you go stay with her after all the stuff she went through, I just spent all these years trying to fix your ass. And she was like, you do that, I'm not going to talk to you no more. I'm not giving you money no more because I'm your mom. And that's when I drew the line, because no, you're not. Technically, you're not. Like, you are, but you're not. That's my real mom. So if it's going to cause me to lose your relationship, I didn't want to, but I need to go take care of my mom because that's my real mom. Sorry. So, but
So
anyways,
yeah,
I have a really good, but she's my foster mom still. We made it back up because of course she's my mom, but she's a really good woman and I love her too.
that's
So,
a good thing. I have two questions and one. I wanted to know really quick, and yes, did you ever tell your granddad about all of the stuff that you went through? And did your mother ever apologize to you?
so that's so My grandpa, my grandpa died in 2007. I got on crystal meth in 2003, and I got it the strangest place in college. I was going to this study group, white, white people. Predominantly, I don't try to hang out with white people, just so y'all know. I predominantly have nothing but white friends. I don't know why. I don't know why God did that, but I do. And we're at the study group, and I started using there. And it was like, oh, this allows you to study better, but it's still bad after effects and stuff like that. So the first person I told was my grandpa, because he was a pastor. And I couldn't really tell my grandpa the stuff that was going on at the time with my mom, because he knew. It was more like our family kind of separated. Like, my uncle was the glue that held the family together. He was like the drug dealer, but also his money is what financed the family. Like, my grandpa had his own watermelon fields, the clothes, all the things that we did, the block, it was all taken care of by my uncle. At that time, when we disappeared for a while, by the time I went back, I didn't know where he was. They said he was in jail, and he died when I was in Oklahoma. He got shot. It's like 17 times killed. So anyways, that's another story. But my grandpa was married. He got remarried to a woman that didn't like his kids or his grandkids. So you remember a house where we were all at, no one was at. No, like, she didn't want us there. She didn't want us coming there. She had her kids. And when we were there, she made it very uncomfortable. So you never saw more than one or two cousins there at a time, because everyone's in and out, because she wasn't playing that. She didn't want that. She was saying, like, he had too many people at his house. So that's kind of like how the distance with grandpa kind of happened, So we did kind of get close again when I got out of foster care, like when I was in the hood, because he used to come and visit. And I used to, like, take him out to eat and do all these little different things. And we used to talk about God a lot. And that's just about it. As far as my mom didn't get better after that. She got 1000% worse. And she used to always write me a letter. And it's so funny, because I just found one of the letters yesterday, because I don't throw away a letter. She will write me a letter in her handwriting, because her handwriting is very unique. Mark and a heart, and that's it. And it'll get to the house, and then I would get so excited, because I know she's alive. Like, I don't know where she's at, but I know she's alive. And I remember she got sober in 2006. She got sober in 2006. But what made her get sober in 2006 is she ended up having another child. She lost her child. So she fought tooth and nail to get that child back. When she got that child back, she told me that she couldn't invest in us or worry about us anymore, because all the love that she should have gave us, she has to put into this child that she has. And my sisters didn't like that, and they were very upset and angry about that. So they kind of removed themselves together. And so they became super closer and clingy to my aunt's side of the family, because my mom did that. So my mom still didn't have that much money and stuff. So seeing that she was doing good and she was sober, I was sending her money monthly, and also, like, buying the little girl stuff, the little girl that she had. So I buy her school clothes and, Christmas gifts. So my mom didn't have to worry about that. My mom still was infantile, if that makes sense, like very dependent. Like I owe her some, like, my bills, I can't pay this and stuff like that. You don't do nothing for me. You can, and she's sober and she talks like this. So it was stressful to kind of try to have a relationship with her, when I was really trying to make sure her kids that were here was successful, because they still needed that guidance. Even though they have my aunts and stuff, they needed someone to talk to them about other things of life, because they were too sheltered. So it's like I couldn't be for everybody. So sometimes I would stop talking to my mom, because she would become over needy and over, like, I owe, and it was too much. And so my sisters don't kind of understand that dynamic, that I need a break from my mom sometimes. So when my mom got sick, it was during the time she was already sick, because she has a lot of issues. She was a crackhead. Come on now. Like, but they don't understand that. You're not going to be years on the streets and not have health issues. So my mom basically is close to the aunt that raised her, Pam. They never dealt with her, because she had me when they didn't want her to have me, because I'm her rebellion. So that's why they stopped talking to her. And I guess that's why they don't really like me, because I'm the one that caused them to stop talking to her. So that's how that dynamic happened. That's why I was never really wanted, which is weird, but still, I get over it. I don't care. I understand it and I accept it. It's your ish, not my ish to do it. But now I kind of understood now why they don't have that dynamic with her. When my mom was getting sick, she started calling the lady a lot, Auntie Pam, the ones that are removed. And so Auntie Pam been having the kids because she said she couldn't deal with it. She's been having them deal with my mom. And they don't know her, but they've been dealing with her, and but dealing with her from a distance. Since my sister's in a medical school and she was going to school to be a nurse, my aunt only wanted her handling my mom's case, but my sisters them never saw my mom, if that makes sense. I'm going down there, seeing her, and I'm trying to talk to my sisters. The doctors saying they're getting confused, and you guys are making all these decisions. Let me handle it. I'll handle it. Yeah, you're saying handle it, but Auntie Pam told us. But okay, why are you guys not listening to me? Like, I'm the oldest. That's my mother. Y'all don't even know. Like, come on, I need y'all to back up. It's my mother. And I'm actually physically seeing her. She's in the hospital and she's not taking care of. She can't wipe her ass. Guess who's taking showers with her? Guess who's feeding? I'm doing all this stuff, but you guys are doing all this stuff behind, saying Auntie Pam's telling you, and I'm telling you not to. And now it's this back and forth, and I don't understand because, like, after all the stuff I did for you guys, I'm kind of asking you guys to back up. And so it started becoming more emotion. I didn't know I would be that emotional. And that's when I realized the lack of respect they have for me as a person and as their sister. And that's when I had to learn to heal and grow, because now my mom is sick and she needs someone, and I can't be there for her when all these hands play a part that are not really here physically for her. And what hurts me about my mom is that she feels so bad about my sisters that every time she talks to them, she talks to them in an okay voice. Even on her dying bed, she was like, "Hi, honey, how's?" Or she wants them to know that she's doing okay. But when she's calling me, it's like, I can't pay my rent. I'm just, all the problems going on me, and I'm trying to help her. And then as soon as the kids will walk in, "Hi, how are you? I'm doing so great," and she's not. And I could never really understand that dynamic. I still don't, but I always wish I had it. It's like, I never seen that. It's like, I never got that, never seen it. All the way to her dying day, it was like, you blah, 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 blah. So it's like, why I never got that. Like, I don't understand. It's not that I'm upset or angry about it, because from a therapy perspective, it's the guilt that makes her like that with the children, period. Her guilt of giving them, looking how great they are, and they don't really know her. She's not going to show them that because they haven't seen it. She's trying to be as positive as possible because that's the only thing she has to give. Me, she doesn't need to do that because I see the good, bad, and ugly. So what she need to do that for me for? So but it still hurts. Like, dang, I'm over here wiping your ass, doing all this stuff, and you still doing this to me. So the last day I saw her was in October, because my sisters finally came down to see her, and they're acting all snotty, and I left. And she didn't say bye, she didn't say anything. And I blocked my sisters and told them that until they're ready to talk, we can talk in a therapy session, we can talk anyway, unless they're really ready to talk. I don't think it's healthy any longer for me to interact with them because I don't deserve what they're giving me, and I need to respect and love myself a little bit more. And so that was a hard year. And then in March, they told me that my mom died and that they got her cremated. And so I wasn't part of any of it. They didn't that was another hurt and blow. And I struggled for a few months. When I say 3 months of complete depression and not having anyone to talk to, because people kept telling me like, "Oh, you just need to make it up with your sisters. You just need to make it up with," not realizing how bad and how they were doing me. And it's like, why would you tell somebody to continue to go eat shit? Obviously, but I don't have time to explain the whole situation to you in order for you to understand that I need my break. So once I really let my sisters go, my life started getting better. And when I say getting better, me starting understanding, and I have friends that are therapists, and we'd be talking about it and stuff like that. It's like, you need to learn. People need to learn when a relationship, no matter how much you want it, is too unhealthy for you, and you need to drop it and keep it. It doesn't matter if you're related. You're never going to grow if you're holding on to things that you can't make better. Period. And that's
I,
it. And
I
that's how
agree.
that's
I
all.
agree. And we're at time, so I'm gonna let Sid kick off the final. We want to thank you so much,
I'm
Serenity. This
sorry.
was
I hope
like a
I
part
explained
two.
everything.
Yeah, it's like a part two, part three. Go ahead, Sid. You can wrap it
I
Yeah.
probably
up.
rambled too much.
You're
Yeah,
fine. You're fine. That's
you're
the
fine.
this is supposed to be a platform as a almost a diary. So you're making our jobs easier. We didn't have to put any questions in the noggin. You're just giving it to us. So that is
I'm
wonderful. We're glad that
sorry.
you're able to. No, we are glad you're able to share in the way that would have come to you naturally. So we thank you again. But we do have your banner scrolling across the bottom here. If you can
Mm.
let the viewers know during shameless plug how they can contact you, the services that you offer, how they can utilize those services, where you want to draw traffic, anything, you have the floor.
Oh, well, everything is Serenity Sage, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. I still don't know how to use those things. I feel like I'm not old, so I don't know why I don't know how to use those things. But anyways, those are the things I have right now. What I'm working on, I am a behavior therapist, crisis management, and I am the person that you call when you're about to put a 2-day notice or 3-day notice in on your foster child. And I'm the person that comes with all the activities, all the things that you need for the kids so you can build a better relationship, for me to be able to understand your child and figure out their baseline, because you can get anybody to say yes if you figure out their nose. And so I basically build relationships with the kids so they can be able to maintain placement within their homes. But now what I'm working on is actual curriculum and a PowerPoint that I'm going to start working with the foster care system. It's going to be for foster parents, foster kids, and the people in the system that gets burnt out a little bit, so everyone can understand how each person plays a part in each other's lives to make their life better for the child so they can actually have the ultimate success. And again, I'm Serenity Sage, at 82@gmail.com. If you have any questions or anything like that, I plan to roll this out in January and hopefully to help save some foster kids' lives and even help kids understand their current situations.
Thank you, Serenity. We appreciate you. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out. We want to thank Serenity for being a guest on Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast, and we hope that her testimony touches someone. Serenity went through her childhood traumas, protecting her siblings, and taking a lot of abuse from protecting her siblings. So we just hope that this testimony touches someone, and how when we're a child, everything is good and everything can change in our lives, and how when we get older, we realize that we want change from our childhood into our adult lives. So, thank you for tuning in to Unfiltered, Unspoken podcast, where we're going to continue to bring life experiences of others in hopes that it will help you start the journey to healing.